letter combo Scrabble. Okay, so this is very simple. So like I would just start off with student one and be like, all right, student one, here is your letter combination. Can I come up with a word with that letter combo? And student one, reader one would be like, okay, how about the word sheep? So I'd write the word down on my little whiteboard here so they could see it. And then you come through and you just, all you really got to do is have this the Scrabble values mapped out, and you come through and you give them their points. There we go. You ask them to help you. Did I just really do that? I really just did that. Trying to do two things at one time here. It's not working, is it? So I asked them to help me add these up. We do all they help me with all the work there. So they go through and they help me add the things up, and it's what was that, 5, 6, 7, was that 10 points? So that individual would have 10 points there, and that is the basis of this game, letter combo Scrabble. So, okay, here we go. There's your letter combo. So I give them a new card, so that they're not looking at the same cards over and over again. But they would use the letters that you're talking about there. So stack the deck, right? And they'd be like, how about a few? And you write that down so that they can see it there. A few definitely has an EW in it. Excellent work, reader number two. So then I would take my trusty pencil, because this thing, I can really get a good whack on it, give it a spin, and reader number two starts off with 2 points. That's a good start, reader number two. Reader number three, here's your letter combination. Toe. Toe has the OE in it. Fantastic, reader number three. And then you whack that thing again and give them their points. 1. Oh no, I didn't do you very good justice there, did I? Number 1. That's all right. Okay, so this is what you do after you do a couple rounds. Let's say we've gone a couple rounds, and everybody's got some points here. Let's say there's 4, there's 3. Somehow they got 10. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it that way just because it's there. But we've gone a couple rounds, all right, and I'm gonna be like, all right, up the ante. Boom, boom. Then you do another round. You show them that you can change this thing, and then they're going to be like, it's going to blow their minds. And then you pick then you pick the kid that's in behind. Reader number two, you are at a disadvantage right now. You are the kid that's behind. How would you like to change this here? You could put a negative sign on one of these. Set up a trap, but you might fall in that trap, right? So you could put a 7 You could add a 1 to one of these. So instead of 4 points, it's 14 points all of a sudden. What do you say? Okay, we want to make a -2. Oh, that's naughty. But the idea on this with this variation is that you would give this thing a spin. All right, you'd be like, reader number 4, it's your turn. All right, so you give this thing a spin, you'd see, all right, so it's right on the line. That's right on the line. And when it's on the line, I always give the benefit of the doubt. So I see a 2 and a 3. 3 is the bigger score. I always give the benefit of the doubt if it's on the line. And we pick up that card. Now I need a sentence with these 2 words. Great spell. Great spell. And then you help them out if they have troubles. But um, you spelled that great. Okay. I don't really care if they put suffixes on it. I don't care if they make it spells. He spells that. I really don't care if they don't get it quite right in a sentence. I'm really looking for them to give it a shot and think about it for a moment. And I don't really penalize them for being wrong on this stuff. So there is that. All right. Go into the chat. Type up with AI in it. Hold on to it. Don't hit enter yet. We're going to all hit enter at the same time. All right. We're going to hit enter at the same time. You can give you just a few seconds. Watch the clock back there just to We got to keep moving. If we want to have time to play, we got to keep moving, right? So give them a little bit of time. Everybody looking good. Everybody looking good. All right. Kid number 1, count us down. Down and enter. And then it doesn't really make a difference if they spelled it wrong. It doesn't make a difference if they all put the same word, but you have one of the kids go through and read them. Excellent. All right, let's see. Everybody got past their turn there. All right, so then you go through and you're going to be like, boosh, boosh, boosh. All right, so now we're playing Tinsy. I've got a set of dice for kid 1, kid 2, and kid 3. And the idea is to go through and get all the dice the same. So on turn 1, they've got to decide which one to keep, right? All right, you gonna keep any of those, kid 1? They're all different, so it doesn't really make much difference. All right, kid 2, what do you think? You're gonna keep any of those? You're gonna keep the 2 5s. I would too. All right, we're gonna put those over to the side. Kid 3, what do you think? They're all different. It doesn't really make much difference, right? All right, here we go. Everybody, we need a word with the OI. Type a word with the OI in chat, but don't hit enter yet. Hold on to that thing. Their time. All right, kid 3. Count us down. Go through, have them read it again, and then you go through and just do their turns for them. Boom, boom, boom. And you ask them, you want to keep any? And doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. And then do it again. So there's Tinsy. Actually, you're supposed to use 10 dice, but I've never used 10 dice. I always use at least 3, maybe sometimes 5. You don't really have that much time to do 10 dice. And the number 6, of course. All right, so that's a terrible box. So with this one, it's fairly simple. You'd be like, kid number, did we just do that card? We just did that card. Just did that card too. I might be getting the same ones again. They are. All right, kid number 1. Here is your letter combination. All right. You need a word with a PT letter combination. Remember that sounds like a pt, a pt. What's a word with a pt sound in it? And you give them a few minutes, and they're like, receipt. Excellent. A receipt has the pt sound in there. And then you give them a roll. And so that was a bad roll. It just dropped it right in the same spot, didn't I? So I'd be like, I don't remember which kid I was talking about, but you would put their name in that spot. And of course, the goal is to get your name in all 6 spots. Kid 3, kid 4. All right, so I got 4 kids, and all I'm doing is associating with each kid with a color there, so that so that they know what color they are. That's all I'm really doing. Each student with a color, and basically all they've got to do is maybe come up with a sentence or a word for the spot that they want to claim, and it's fairly simple. So maybe they just come up and say, I'm trying to get it, thing, the word thing. And the hardest part there is whenever they say thing, are you talking about the th in thing or the ng in thing? That's usually the hardest part whenever they say those words. So you got to ask them that thing. And then something else that occurs is after you've gone around and they all just like pick weird spots, that one picks one there. This one says is playing defense right off the bat because they played before. Right. And I don't know, the last kid will say cow. I don't know. Or maybe it was put them up there, fry, trying to do their own thing. What'll happen sometimes is this kid wants this spot here, so they'll take time. So if they take too much time, you can ask them what they're looking for, and then you can be like, okay, so you're looking for a word with the sound in it. Think about things with the sound in it. Like I can think about the sound in where the places where the cows come from. Where do they grow cows at? On the farm, that's right, on the farm. So you help them out. And for questions where the kids are a little bit older, this one I like this one when the kid's a little older because I can use this with along with any question pretty much, and the kids all like it, and they get brutal. Like they learn how that they got to play defense at some point. But stuff going on right here, and it's not easy to set up while you're standing there in the camera because you got to pay attention to what you're looking for here. So let's go through what's happening here. So the first thing that you see over here is on the left, each kid has their own color associated with them to play on the field. So you set that up, and a little bit of space for points because you can give them points for each row that they successfully navigate. That way, they feel like they've got something. You give them a point. The first row is worth 1 point. Second row is worth 2 points. That's the way I usually do it. So the second thing that you see over here is all these chips that are all red. Underneath each of these chips is a letter combination. You see that there's an OY. There's an OY over here. All right. So there's underneath each of these chips, there is a letter combination that is associated with a mine that is in that field. So what you do is you go through and you ask the kids to come up with a word with and on the far right there is a safe spot. All right, there's one card there. There's one safe spot, and what I do is the letter combinations that you talked about that day. So we talked about specific letter combinations that day. This is why I like to use this game, because in the beginning the game and say, hey, we're going to play this. You got to pay attention because the spots, the letter combinations that we talk about are going to be safe spots. So you get that. You save those off to the side here. Round 2. All right. Round 2. You go through and you have them pick again. And let's say that you got 2 of them are sticking together in the OA again because they're friends and that's just what they do. One of them comes over here and says, I like that CH. And another one says, Chad, I like that CH. And the other one says, I like to drive whenever I get to be old. I'm like, okay. So those 2 stuck together. And then you look at this one and be like, where is that mind? Oh, actually, you know what? I usually do that backwards. Let's do this the other way. Where was the safe spot? Anybody know where the safe spot was at? The OA. That's excellent. What is that? Kid 3 and 4. Paying attention. Good job. Paying attention. I like that. That's the same. You knew to pay attention. You knew where the safe spot was at. Then you go through and you say second, all right, now where's that mine at? Where do you think? Cross your fingers. The CH. Of course it's the CH. That's my name. Ooh, the CH. All right, so this round was worth 2 points. So it's like everybody but kid 2 gets 2 points. 2, 3, and 3. All right, and that's how the game goes. That's how this game is played, all the way to the bottom. After they've played a couple times, they all start following the safe spots, but they're all paying attention through the whole time, through the whole thing, or they're just following one other student. It's funny whenever they step on the mine, you're like, oh no! It's good fun. They're all dramatic. So I'm looking at an answer key that I've already set up, and it tells me where my boats are sitting. All right, so I can see where my boats are at. They can't. Something that I'll do. So I've got this answer key, and this could be done. This could also be done with just a graphic of a grid like this. You wouldn't necessarily need all these boats in the overhead cam to do this with a graphic on screen. I use this stuff because I've got the tools and it's something I've developed. Now with this setup here, one thing that I tend to do is I'll go through and block off. I'll use my my green to say this is all land. See, and what that does is makes it easier to find my boats. so that the game doesn't just go on and on and on forever. I want them to be successful. This is something that I can set up while um, I can set up while we're talking because it doesn't really take a whole lot of thought process to do this. Um, to do this here, right? So, uh, one thing that you can do is set up uh, is set up uh, your answer keys to correspond with the letter combinations of the day. If you were paying attention to the letter combinations of the day, my boat might be part. No, don't shoot me. So that's something that you can do. You can connect it to the beginning of the day. That's why I like this game. It's something that you can connect to the beginning of the game. After they've played it once and they kind of get the idea, they start to like to play it. So that's and they like to shoot my boat. Can you say? But it helps to connect the beginning of the lesson to the end of the lesson, and it helps them to remember and they want to pay attention more if you are. Um, if you tell them basically that's where you're at. So and then they just come up with shots. Like let's say that that kid number one remembered that FR was a letter combination of the day. So they say frog, frog, and I say, oh no, you hit my boat. So because I've gone through and you know been so goofy about this, I know that it is indeed the back of my submarine that you just hit. So they can see that, right? So you can be like, oh. And it kind of helps them to know that they've got 3 shots on that submarine and that's where it's at. Now, they may not follow up with you on the next couple shots there. It takes them a round of doing this. Kids have to play the game to understand what's happening there. There's more boat there, but eventually they lock onto it and they start coming up with they'll come up with something. Jump in school, they'll come up with something pretty quick to get the rest of your boat. But that's the goal. If they miss, let's say I'm looking at my grid and it looks like the next kid says ear, the word ear, and I'm like, oh no, that's a miss. All right, my boat's getting in closer to you. My boats are gonna get by. I'm gonna get out on this little guy right here, on this little itty bitty guy. Me and this little guy, we're gonna sneak on through. Yeah. So those are things that you can do with an overhead cam. Obviously, you would not necessarily have to have. You could do this with a graphic, but with the overhead cam, it's much more dynamic. It's more interactive for you. It's easier to deal with. You could just be like I said, they take another shot and they're just like they were paying attention and they knew that PT was a letter combination of the day, and they said receipt, receipt. I say receipt does have a PT in it. Thank you very much. But oh no, look at that! You hit my what is that thing? That is an aircraft carrier. No. I can't tell the front from the back on this thing, but I'll just say hit the back of my aircraft carrier. There we go. No, the back of my aircraft carrier. So, yeah, they like hitting my boats. They like sinking my boats. That is activity e games, and they are all rooted around picking a letter combination, a word, or answering a question in some way or another. So there's that. I'm going to do my best to keep from just rambling on for days here because you talk about your toys, you can talk about them for hours. And I'm going to try to avoid that. But I want to point out a few of the things. After a couple of years of working with Amplify, there was a few tools that came in handy, and the second monitor is the biggest one. It's nice to have a screen dedicated to viewing your group and another for viewing your lesson plan. And when it comes time to do the progress monitoring, having extra screens and being able to split them is incredibly helpful. As you've seen in the video here, that I like to use the overhead camera and the whiteboard together. I am using a budget webcam made by Case Logic. The challenge was mounting the camera over my workstation. I happen to have several mic stands around, so it was a fairly easy leap to grab one of those mic stands and modify it for a camera instead of a microphone. If you are interested in adding more functionality to your tutor station, then be creative. Look around your house and what you have, because you can probably use a lot of the things that you have around your place, and use your money smartly.